Hello YouTubers, this is Nuclear Weasel here, bringing you a little different from what we normally do. We normally do, I normally do standard decks. And standard decks and Yu-Gi-Oh decks are normally my thing. So, let's go out of the loop and go with Pauper. Pauper is so fun. You can't even believe it. It's all common cards. So, I mean, of course you would know what Pauper is, otherwise you wouldn't have clicked on this video. But what we have today is Pauper Slivers. To be exact, is green-white Pauper Slivers. And let's get to it. So we're going to go straight into the Lords. The newest Predatory Sliver. Oh, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know what Lords do, they add +1 to creatures of the same thing. So, Predatory Sliver, Muscle Sliver, and Sinew Sliver. These are all the same exact thing, except this one's white. Not being racist. They all do the exact same thing for the exact same mana cost, except this one's white. Those are green. That's it. That's what they do. Nothing to be explained. That's why I did them all at once. So, yep. There you have it. +1, +1, +1. They stack. So if these two are out, it's +3. They're at 3, they're 3 3s now. So that's why Sliver Lords are pretty darn amazing. Also why Slivers are really easy to play. And then for your mana fixing, you have Gemhide Slivers. Because nothing is more fun than using those extra little dudes you have out that aren't doing anything to tap them for mana to play more Slivers. Pretty straightforward. These are also 2-drops. And he gives Slivers the ability to tap for mana. Not the newest one. The newest one, I think it's an uncommon, so you can't use that one. But that's what this one does. And then you have, my favorite card is Sidewinder Sliver. For 1 white, you make all your Slivers have flanking. Now for all of those newish players, say you have your Gemhide Sliver here. If I go and attack with my Sidewinder Sliver, and you try to block, yours automatically dies. You've declared your block. Of course, take no damage, but your creature died and mine lived. Why? It basically is flanking. I'll read the exact text to you. Is whenever a creature with flanking, without flanking, blocks a Sliver, the blocking creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And these stack. So if you go attack and block 1, this gets -4 before it even gets to deal damage, so it dies. So that's why flanking is amazing. So Sidewinder Slivers are cards to get when you're running any Sliver deck with white. Then we go to our secondary, I guess, Lord, is Plated Sliver. It gives a boost to the toughness. So, it's an okay card. I find myself looking for it in times of need, but other than that, it's not a necessity. You want the other Lords way more than you want this one. Or Sidewinder. Because Sidewinder also sets up little things. If you have 2 Lords out, and if you've got a 2/2, and then you have your Sidewinder, you swing out, and there's drops, and you don't lose anything. Then you have Sentinel Sliver. Two of these. It was really good up until I saw how much I wasn't really using it over every other 2-drop in this deck. Because there's only one card that's over 3-drop, or over 2-drop, and we'll get to that later. And if you know anything about green-white, you know exactly what that card is already. And if you know anything about Pauper, it's one of the strongest cards almost ever printed besides land. But Sentinel Sliver gives all your Slivers vigilance. So that's pretty solid. Now that's it for the creatures. We're going to enchantments. we have one of my favorite enchantments in this deck is Rancor. Yes, it may be an uncommon, but it was printed as a common before. If you don't believe me, go ahead and look it up. It has been a common before, so it is legal. Anything that was printed as a common is legal in Pauper format. I'm not saying that if it has a black symbol, like this M13 symbol, that it's automatically a common. There are cards back in the day that used to have black symbols, but were considered mythics or rares. So you got to check up on it before. But see, Rancor was a common card. They learned their mistake. Then we have the single-handedly one of the strongest cards in the deck, period, is Armadillo Cloak. Now, if anybody's playing Standard right now, Selesnya is a real deck. And when Selesnya comes into play, you always worry about that stupid card called Unflinching Courage. Well, guess what? This does the exact same thing. Although, it has a slight catch. While Unflinching Courage gives trample and lifelink, that one word, that lifelink, this says, and I quote, whenever an enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So the cruel thing about this card is you can go and put it on your own dude and make him big, or you put it on your opponent's big dude and they can no longer attack you. For you will gain life and lose nothing out of it. You gain life and that's it. So it's a cruel ultimatum for your opponent when they see this card dropped on their big dude. And it is in Pauper, so there really aren't that many big dudes to begin with, but they get there at some point. So Armadillo Cloak is a very serious threat in this deck. When Armadillo Cloak hits the field, you have to start worrying. But Armadillo Cloak, a must-have. Then we go into Sorceries, which, of course, if you have anything to do with Slivers, Hive Stirrings. Mine aren't the promo ones because I really didn't care. And for 3 mana, which I also lied because this is another 3 mana card, you put 2/2 Slivers, or 2 1/1 Slivers out. Which I might add, after you have a Gemhide Sliver out, you can go and tap those Slivers to add mana. Those 1/1s that aren't doing anything, you can go and drop all those Lords in your hand. Ta-da! Yay! And last but not least, you have Travel Preparations. For 2 mana, you can go and put 1/1 counters on 2 different creatures and flash it back to do the exact same thing. Pretty solid. You can go make one of your Lords really, really big. Or you can go ahead and put all those counters on your opponent's really, really big dude with Armadillo Cloak and keep swinging in at him. Because your creature may die, yes, but you gain a heck of a lot of life. Or you poke them for a little bit. So that's the fun deck. A little out of the loop than normal, but I'm pretty sure you enjoy it. We're going to go into land, and that's never really interesting when it comes to Pauper, because if you're running 2-color decks, you can either run any of the gates or any of the bounce lands that you bounce a land and then you have a land that taps for both colors. But we have 4 Selesnya Guild Gates, 8 forests, and 8 plains. So in all, you're looking at exactly 20 land. You don't really need to run 20, but it's a good idea. You do have Gemhides in there for mana fixing, but there really isn't all that many Slivers to add in this deck. And if you want to build a sideboard, which you can, it's totally up to you. But I totally would totally think about this card called Sunlance. It's a sorcery speed lightning bolt that hits only non-white creatures. And it's honestly a good card. It's pretty much for the mirror match, I guess. But hey, if you want to run a main board, go for it. I actually might do it over some of the land in there. But that's it. That's Pauper. Hope you enjoy the deck. Try it out if you want. It's literally less than $40 if you want to go and buy each card individually. The most expensive cards in the deck are Armadillo Cloak and Muscle Slivers and Sinew Slivers. That is it. The rest of the deck is cheap. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please rate and subscribe. And as always, you thought I was going to quote FPS Russia. No. Good night.